Welcome. My name is Christopher Peter. The Catholic Church has a new leader. For the first time, the global Catholic Church will be led by an American-born person and former Cardinal Robert Provost, who will be now known as Pope Leo. As an American Catholic, I am excited that we finally have an American Pope, something I never thought was possible, as many non-European Catholics probably all felt prior to Pope Francis. There is something special about the conclave process, and notably, the manner the public is notified. Imagine if following our presidential or other political elections that red smoke Republicans or blue smoke for Democrats was released to announce the results. If this was following a job interview process, many candidates would at least appreciate that they got any kind of feedback. But, for us Catholics, it is the definitive tradition of announcing the election of the person that will lead the Catholic Church, the pinnacle of Christian faith, into the future and manage the issues and challenges of the moment at the same time. Again, I am Catholic that attends Mass regularly, but I have no idea the backgrounds for any of the cardinals that were considered in the mix. I am not well versed in the politics of the Church as to who is considered a traditionalist or a reformer, but I do know that our Pope Leo will inherit some management-related issues like fiscal responsibility at the highest level of the Church, issues with the declining number of clergy throughout the world, challenges with membership growth in secular nations, and difference of opinions throughout the global Church. The media is already positioning Pope Leo as a uniter, which is a good trait for the next Bishop of Rome and the next Pontiff. The Catholic Church is the only Christian church where everyone throughout the world is praying in unison every Sunday. The tradition and its essential role as the guiding light for the world is important. Let us continue with this special episode and discuss faith. Pope Francis was a transformative figure for the Church and far different than his predecessors. The first South American-born person to be elected as Pope, a true showing of how global the Church is as it broke from tradition of electing European-based cardinals. Even before reaching the role as Pontiff, Pope Francis was a beloved figure. There is no denying that he had the ability to connect with the average person. To some degree, there was controversy. Many of his approaches were different from his predecessors. Reportedly, he did not accept the more lavish accommodations that were used in the past in favor of a common living quarters. His views on key issues also countered the prevailing opinions in the Vatican. On some of the big issues where Catholics leaders tend to take a staunch position, Pope Francis took a more softened approach. Catholics and other religious people tend to hold strong views on many topics like gays and abortion, but we sometimes miss our callings when addressing issues that are counter to our faith principles. Remember when Pope Francis responded, "Who am I to judge?" I think it was an important message because we forget as Catholics at times that we should not go around judging others. We believe that there is one true judgment that will come from God, not man, but I think it is also human nature to form opinions of things we see, hear, or read about, even if we do not really know all the details. At the very least, we are supposed to show basic kindness to others and demonstrate compassion for the person. That does not mean we are obligated to become advocates or allies on issues and behaviors that we disagree with, but we can show people basic kindness, which is what we are called to do. There are many people, not just Catholics, who hold themselves against predefined standards of good behavior and seek to check those boxes. Did they attend Mass every week? Check. Did they do kind behaviors to others? Check. Did they avoid negative behaviors better known as sins? Check. Did they say prayers and read the Bible? Check. These are good traits in people, and I think we should appreciate people who do the right thing. Too many times in modern-day society, the good people are torn down and those that do real harm to those around them are given an undue benefit of the doubt. We should be able to appreciate and acknowledge good while being able to offer olive branches to those who need a second chance or a fresh start, or just compassion. We are also supposed to reach out to those in need and demonstrate generosity. I think it is a good trait to be a good person and at the very least try not to add to the problems that exist in the world, but we are tasked to also try to help others. We can try to donate to the poor and those in need. We can show concern for the sick and try to help our communities. Also, there is the opportunity to help those who have lost their way and try to help them find their way back. I think too many people in religion and politics are cast aside as lost causes because they made mistakes in their lives. Maybe even minor mistakes that can be atoned for. Or maybe someone holds views or demonstrates immoral non-criminal behaviors at times. People can change their ways if they want to and if their behaviors are standing in the way of their best outcomes. There are many times where the best approach is just not to judge them and let a person be if they are not creating external harm. Sometimes it may be helpful to that person if they are engaged with and mentored or at least given an olive branch. We are not here to judge, but show kindness and be positive for our communities. Every college graduate is challenged to be the change we want to see in society. If we want to live, work, and raise families in kinder, more compassionate, and safe communities, then it starts with us accepting our responsibilities as proclaimed Christians. In the past, those who followed the righteous path seemed to think that scornful derision of those in society who did not live up to social norms or traditional standards of good behavior would be an effective impetus for change. But, shaming people does not encourage them to change their ways. Rather, it may solidify their defiance. Such a stance is a clear defiance to our faith. If we believe that there will be one true judgment and we are not equal to it, then why do we hold others in judgment when their behaviors may not directly impact us, or we are not tasked by society to determine guilt or innocence? Do we want to violate our faith and equate ourselves to God? Do we want to feel better about ourselves by amplifying the flaws of others? That mindset of elevating ourselves at the expense of the reputations of others is something countered by Pope Francis in many ways. A stark contrast, a pope that did not relish in the prestige of the role, who equated himself with the common man and woman, changed our view of power and humility. While we might not always agree with some positions, the main lesson I took from the messages I read and saw was that we Catholics may have lost our way a bit and need to start walking like Christ if we want to be close to Christ. That is our true goal with religion. Show kindness, be compassionate, and try to contribute positively to your communities and those around you. That is the lesson I took from Pope Francis. Faith can be something that people keep close to the vest and is personal, just like politics to some degree. But, I believe religion can mean much more to the person because politics can change based on the situation and people involved. Faith is generally more about a personal relationship with a higher being through formal practice of religious tradition or amateur approaches. In any secular society, especially one like the United States, where there is a diversity of religious views held across society, faith can be something hard to maintain. There are many pressures to push people away from religion. Despite being founded on the protection of the freedom of religious practice, American society can be overtly biased towards the agnostics, or being unfairly critical of the predominant faith, like it is on every leading institution. For many people, the bias does not impede us, but it can be annoying when people act shocked that you have faith, despite the majority of Americans demonstrate that they hold some level of belief. Ironically, followers of Islam or Judaism do not get the same treatment. They face other issues, but people just accept them as having their own faith without questioning them. But the dominant institution will always face more criticism and scrutiny. Another layer is that there are different manners that people with faith may show in public. Some may hold everyone to the standards of their belief. Others may try to use their faith as something to recruit anyone that comes in eyesight. For me, faith is personal to me. My focus has always been to use faith to help guide me in trying to be a better person and to shape how I treat others. I think faith is a good anchor to help keep perspective in the midst of the various challenges faced on a daily basis. There was a time when I took a break to re-evaluate my belief system, researched other religions and just worked on issues that I had with my spirituality. During this time, I realized that there was gap or void in my life, and I found my way back to Mass. This break reaffirmed that my Catholic faith was important to me. I could make the effort to dedicate the time to go to Mass and try to use teachings to help guide how I want to contribute to my community, organizations, and society as a whole. While there may be people who faith shame others to appease their own insecurities, I stand tall on my beliefs and continue my personal faith journey. The United States is unique in the diversity of culture as well as the diversity of faith that is actively practiced. Our founding principles protect the freedom of religion and does not allow for the designation of a national religion. Still in this age, there are many nations that punish people who do not pray the way the government of leading power group believes that its society should. Americans can choose to practice their faith and belief, even if that belief is to be agnostic, which is a belief system in itself. The challenge is when a person of overt faith uses it as a guiding principle in their roles in society, either as an elected official with the power to enact rules that impact people regardless of their personal belief system, in their roles as a business leader, where they make decisions that impact workers and customers of a broad array of beliefs. I think faith can be helpful in public roles if balanced to help deliver the good constituents ask for, not just what you want to give them. Starting with economics, I think faith and economic pursuits can mesh well. The ability to do good can be amplified with additional resources available to fund those pursuits. For instance, look at all the good in the world being done by Elon Musk, which is riling up many on the left. Musk did not need to take time from his schedule to help find efficiency that will benefit taxpayers and those in need for generations to come. Musk has helped so many people with leveraging his company's capabilities, including bring our astronauts back home. Many of the great works done by charitable organizations are funded by the generous donations of those wealthy individuals who give far more than what is able to be used as a tax write-off. So many wealthy people do good things without even asking for recognition. Politically, it is useful to attack wealth to placate the emotions of some people who hold strong jealousy or do not understand why they are not where they want to be in life. We will discuss more about the reality of class warfare in a future episode. The pursuit of economic activity and creation of wealth and seeking to be compensated for your efforts is not sinful in my opinion. Society benefits from the growth in the economy. People benefit from the job opportunities that will come from it. And the person who identified the opportunity and brought forth a solution should get their worth. That is fair. The pursuit of greed where you corrupt the system for personal gains while purposefully harming others is sinful. On a Catholic podcast I like to listen to, the bishop spoke about the issue separating wealth and greed. During the episode, he did caution that there is a point where the excesses are for God. But it is good for people to take the gifts that God has blessed them with and elevate themselves and contribute to their economies. People want to easily classify things as good or bad, but sometimes nuisance matters. People tend to call things greed if they do not like the price, but are naive to the cost of production and delivery. But we should not view entrepreneurship or commercial viable pursuits on face value as evil. There are so many social good that comes out of having thriving business communities, economic growth, and wealth creation. In setting public policy, the overt using faith as the guiding principle for policy can be very unsettling even if you are a person of faith. Personally, I do not mind an elected official leaning on their faith to help them have clarity and judgment and to want to do good, but I would want to take a step back if they use faith to set policy. That is a precedent we do not want to venture down, as we know someone will eventually lean on controversial areas of their religion that may not be good applied publicly. For instance, if a person of faith is very hesitant to authorize the use of military or support government sponsorship of controversial behaviors that may be immoral and harmful, it is acceptable as long as the benefit outweigh the cost of the inaction. The goal of public office is to do what is right for the broadest population of citizens, regardless of whether you disagree with the approach. On the other hand, if you decide to enact policy because your belief system has controversial standards placed on people solely because of their demographics, we cannot let that happen. If you want to have a messed up household dynamic, that may work for you within reason, but it is not something we would want to spread outward. The dynamics between our faith, politics, and ideology need to be balanced with the shared universal principles when we are dealing with the general public or market. Ideally, political and business leaders would seek to reach the broadest segments of society or a consumer base. Faith has been my pillar throughout my life and also a big challenge at times when I do not understand the bigger picture of God's will at times. But I believe it helps me be a better person, professional, and member of my community. Like everyone, I make mistakes and try to learn from my mistakes and do better afterwards, which is what you should do regardless of if you are a believer or not. Secular societies try to diminish the value of faith and religion because they believe it serves the interest of society to separate the person from the outcomes and consequences of their behaviors and choices. It is very easy to appease the mindless masses if you say that it is not your fault for the state of your life and project blame to society and a whole host of other things that are irrelevant. The reality of life that you cannot run away from is that you are accountable for your outcomes and responsible for the consequences of your choices, attitudes, and behaviors. Regardless of whether you are a believer or not, the goal is to be a better version of yourself and give something positive to society and those around you. If you want a better state in life, you have to look at the choices, behaviors, and attitudes you show. The hardest thing in life is to look at our own situations and accept the responsibility for our failures and the pursuit of change. People avoid change that is perceived to be hard. I have learned that the hardest things can be made easier if you have the right perspective. For me, faith helps me pursue changes that can help me overcome adversity and maintain the mindset to break down changes into tasks to make it easier to implement. I think society would be a much better place as we could be more open to faith and not discourage it. For many communities, the centers of faith were the glue that kept people connected and united. People knew who they could go to for help and where they could go to help others. Having that community maintained a level of accountability and connection to each other. That is what is lost in society to some degree. Excited to see what Pope Leo does, as he seeks to unite the global church and lead us into the future of Catholicism. Interesting to see how he can grow the church in a world that is questioning its moral center. A big thank you to the audience for experiencing this podcast. The Christopher Peter Review, your source for an economic perspective on salient current events. Please continue to visit the Christopher Peter Review at www.crcreview.com for more, or subscribe on YouTube. Thank you again and talk to you next time.